Today we are going to discuss the echo command followed by the printf command, right? And then we shall also be looking into the ls command, right? So we already know that echo command is often used in shell scripts to display diagnostic messages on the terminal, right? Or it can also be used to issue prompts for taking user inputs, like, right? So basically it can be used in two ways, that is one to display a message and the other one could be to evaluate any of the shell variable, right? So the syntax for echo command is it begins with the command name echo, has options and has a set of strings that can be given as argument to this command, right? So options are like they are optional. It means that options may be specified or may not be specified, and the dots here indicate that you can offer more than single option to the echo command, right? So similarly the dots after the string argument also says that you can give more than one argument to the echo command there, right? So here is an example which shows how exactly echo command is used to display a message onto the screen. So we key in command echo, to which you are passing a string that which is this is an example string. So as soon as the shell encounters an echo command, what it does is whatever is within a set of double quotes is being displayed onto the terminal here, right? So this is how echo command works. Right? So originally echo was an external command. That is, echo was not built into shell, right? But today almost all shells have echo as their built-in command. So therefore there are some differences in the way echo is going to behave across various shells, right? And this difference could be related to the way the echo is going to interpret certain strings, which are also known as escape sequences, right? So is shell is an external command, and many of today's shells have implemented it as an built-in command. There is a difference in the behavior of echo command. So this behavior is related to how exactly echo command is going to interpret the escape sequences, right? So now what do we mean by escape sequences, right? So escape sequences are nothing but two character strings which usually begin with backslash followed by an alphabet. So here if you see, for the first time when we are running the echo command, we have just given the string as an argument, and the string is enter file name, right? So as soon as this echo command is interpreted by shell, it is going to display the string onto the terminal as it is, right? So here you can see enter file name, which is displayed on the terminal. So the next time you run an echo, we have run an echo command, you see that there is an escape sequence, that is /c, right? So when this escape sequence is placed at the end of the string, that is used as an argument to this echo command, what happens is the command interprets the sequence as a directive to place the cursor and the prompt in the same line that displays the output, right? So if you observe the difference between both the echo commands therein, for the first time when we run the echo command, what happened here was the interpreter displayed the argument string, that is enter file name, and the cursor came on to the next line. But here for the second time when we are running an echo command, we can notice that the string enter file name is displayed and the cursor remains on the same line here, right? So this is how echo is used in the shell script to accept input from the terminal, right? So like /c, there are several escape sequences that can be used along with the echo command, but two commonly used escape sequences are /t and /n. So as we have already seen /t in /t and /n in C programming language, they are going to behave the same way in the echo command here too, right? So as we already know that /t is going to introduce a tab, that is, it is going to introduce 8 blank spaces, right? And /n, it is a new line which creates the effect of pressing an enter key, right? So always remember, all escape sequences are not two character strings, right? So ASCII characters can also be represented by their octal values, right? So echo can interpret a number as an octal value when it is preceded by /0, right? Okay. So then, having known about the echo command, let us move on to the printf command. So printf command is similar to that of echo command. So printf command is also available on all of the modern Unix systems, right? So what you can do is you can make use of printf command instead of the echo command. Like echo, printf command exists as an external command, right? So it is the only bash shell that has printf built into it. Okay, so the command in its simplest form can be used in the same way as echo command is been used, right? So here the syntax is, again it begins with the command name printf, followed by it has a set of format specifiers, and then argument is to be provided as an input to this printf command, right? So let us see what do we mean by the format strings, right? So unlike in C programming language, here also printf statement is going to make use of format strings such as %d, which stands for decimal numbers, right? And percentage %o, which stands for octal numbers, right? And %x stands for hexadecimal numbers. %f stands for floating point number, and %s can be used to represent a string, right? Okay. So printf command also accepts all escape sequences that are used in case of echo command, right? So let us see the very first. Okay, so it also accepts all the escape sequences that are used with the echo command, right? So but unlike echo command, this printf does not automatically insert a new line. So it is always must that we specify /n explicitly when you are making use of the printf command here, right? So printf also uses formatted strings the same way how we would make use of it in C languages, right? So here let us say we want to display or we want to know which shell are we making use of, right? So to it, what we do is we key in the printf command, right? So we have keyed in the printf command here. Okay. So we have keyed in a printf command here, to which we have given an argument string, that is my current shell is. We want to know the name of the shell. So name of the shell is naturally a string. So we put the format specifier as %yes, right? /n double quotes. Please notice we are not putting a comma as we used to do it in C language, right? So followed by it, we have the variable known as shell, which gives us the name of the shell that is running at present, right? So here as soon as this command is run, what happens is, as soon as this command is run, what we can see in the next line, that is the output of it, which says that my current shell is /bin/bash. So it says that at present we are working on the bash shell, right? So then we said that printf command is an external command, right? So let us know what is the whether the printf command is an internal command or an external command, right? So in order to find out whether it's an internal command or an external command, which command do we make use of? So in order to find out whether it's a built-in command or an external command, we make use of a command called as type. So see here, type printf. So now the output that we are able to see is printf is shell built-in. So I have already told you bash shell has printf as its built-in command. Correct? Okay. So then coming on to seeing the difference between echo and printf command here. So we have keyed in echo command, to which we have given the input string, that is enter file name. We have not included /c, neither /n nor /t here. So as soon as this echo command is executed, you can see that the string enter file name is displayed onto the screen and the cursor is onto the next line, right? But whereas when we key in a printf command, so we see that the string no file name entered is displayed on the terminal and the cursor remains on the same line, right? So therefore we said that printf command needs /n to be explicitly specified, right? So the same thing you can observe here. You have included a /n as a part of printf command, so therefore the cursor is come to the next line once it displays no file name entered, right? Okay. So it means that we can also use multiple formats in a single printf command, right? So while printf can do everything that echo is doing, but some of its format strings that make a real difference, right? That is, we have some format strings that can convert data from one form to another. So let us see how exactly the %o format specifier works here. So see here we have keyed in a command called as printf, right? So we have keyed in a command called as printf. See this line. So the value of 255 is percentage O. The format is percentage O. So the value of 255 is percentage O in octal, right? So this percentage O should now be replaced by the octal representation of 255, right? So therefore we offer um, therefore we have specified 255 at the end of the command. So as soon as this particular printf command is interpreted, what happens here is the shell now displayed the statement the value of 255 is 377 in octal, right? So please remember, printf command can do everything that an echo command does, but some of its format strings can convert the data from one form to another form, right? So this is how the printf command works. So then let us move on to the ls command, right? So we have already seen that the ls command is basically used to list the contents of the directory, right? So if you want to know more about ls command, then you should be keying in man ls, right? So man ls would give us the whole details of the options that work along with the ls command there, right? Okay, so if we simply key in the command ls, then it is going to display all the files but accept those that are starting with a dot, right? So similarly, if we key in a command ls minus a, then it is going to display all the files that are available in the current working directory, right? So similarly, ls minus x is going to list out the list out all the files, and it is going to display them in a columnar format on the screen, right? So similarly, we have ls minus f option. So ls minus f option is used to, which is this command is going to display all the executable files as well as directories. So therefore it is going to list out the files that are appended by a backslash as well as a star, right? So ls minus a is going to show all the hidden files, right? And then we have ls minus al and ls minus lt. A stands for showing all the hidden files and L stands for long listing of the files. So you can observe here that we have concatenated two options together, right? So similarly, ls minus lt is nothing but it is going to show a long listing of files in the current working directory, but in the order of their modification time, right? So similarly, ls minus ltr, so lt itself is going to sort the files by their modification time, right from latest to earliest, right? So R is going to display this list in reverse. Okay. So then let us execute these commands and see what exactly happens here. So we have already discussed ls minus l is going to give us a long listing, that is it is going to display lots of information. Minus t is going to sort the files by their modification time, right? And minus capital S is going to sort by the size of the files, and minus h is going to list the file sizes but in a human readable format, and minus R is going to reverse the order in which the details have been displayed, right? So we have also seen that multiple options together can be offered to the ls command, so they can be combined by making use of a single minus operator, right? So then let us see, let us execute and see how exactly ls command is working, right? Okay, so as soon as I key in an ls command, then I obtain a list of file names and current directories, right? So as soon as I key in the ls command, I get a list of files and current directories, right? So all of these, right, complete list of file names in the current directory are arranged in ASCII collating sequence, right? So by ASCII collating sequence, I mean to say that it is going to display the file names such that it begins with the names of the files that start with numbers, right? And then it begins with the file names that start with uppercase letters, right? And then it starts with file names that begin with lowercase letters, right? And then it includes directories also, right? So you can see a color change here. Rest of the names of the files are written in black, but whereas the name of the directory is written in sky blue color, right? So therefore, right, uh, so therefore please remember that the list of file names in the current directory are arranged in ASCII collating sequence. Okay, so then I said that anything in blue color is a directory. So what we do is we'll change the directory. We'll go to this directory. So therefore the command given here is cd priya. So after it, I would like to know how many files exist in this directory priya. So what I do is I again key in the ls command, right? So ls command says that there are 5 files in this directory, right? So we saw the use of minus x option, right? So minus x option is like when you have several files, then it's better to display these file names into multiple columns, right? But modern versions of ls commands, right, by default they display everything in terms of a multi-columnar format, right? So it is not necessary that we make use of minus x option there. Okay, so then the next one, that is, we have seen the minus capital F option that is used with the ls command here, right? So the output of ls that we have seen so far just showed the names of the files, right? So we did not know that many of them were directory files also, right? So in order to identify directories and executable files, we are going to make use of minus f option, right? So here in the directory called as priya, I don't have any sort of executable file, so therefore it is going to display whatever was displayed when we ran the ls command, right? So then what I'll do is we will come out of this directory priya using the cd dot command, right? So once you come out of it, again we shall now run ls minus f command. So when I run this ls minus f command, what you can notice here is you get a backslash. You can see a backslash after the name of the directory. Please note here, when we simply executed an ls command, there was a directory by the same name, but we never happened to get a backslash there, right? So here when we make use of ls minus ls minus f command, right? So ls minus f command, so we are able to see that there appears a backslash which indicates that it's a folder or it's a directory, right? So similarly, if we have shell scripts also, then you can see the, if we have some executable codes, then you can see some file names which end with an asterisk, right? That is a star, right? Here I don't have any executable code, so therefore there is no file that ends with a star, right? So now if we want to find out all the hidden files, right? So if we want to find out all the hidden files, then we have already discussed that we are going to make use of an option minus a. So this time we are going to key in the command ls minus a x f. X stands for columnar multi-columnar output. F stands for identifying directories and executable files, and minus A stands for showing all the hidden files, right? So here you can see that there are some files that begin with dot, right? So the first two files, that is dot and double dot, are special directories, right? So they represent the current and the parent directories. So whenever you create a subdirectory, these invisible directories are created automatically by the kernel, right? And these directories, you cannot remove them, nor can you write anything onto them, right? So they are just used, or they just help in holding the file system together, right? So if you can observe the difference here, ls minus f listed out only these many files and directories. Ls minus x also listed out these many files and directories. Simple ls also did it. But then ls minus axf has listed out these many files and directories. So it is like it is showing all the hidden files too, right? So then sometimes we don't know whether a particular file resides onto the system or no, correct? So in that case, ls can also be used to identify or to find out if a particular file exists in the file system or no. So here we have an example to it. We have keyed in a command ls, to which we have given the name of the file as abc. So what you can see here is it says that abc, no such file or directory found, right? So this is how the ls command is going to work, okay?